Welcome to the Inspiring Victory Show, where we help you double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And today, I could not be more excited. Why? I have Jaime Foster with me. Why is that exciting? Because she's brilliant, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. She started off in Fortune 500 companies doing all sorts of amazing things. She is trained and certified coach with the International Coach Federation. She's a great writer. She's a great speaker. If you ever have a chance to see her speak, she has a wonderful podcast that everybody should check out, and is just a fantastic human being. So if you are looking to figure out how you can sell more this year, whether it's your company or your sales position on the line, we're going to make sure that you have all the tools and all of the insider secrets to be able to sell in a way that is high integrity and sustainable. So thank you for being here. It's nice to see you, Jaime. How are you? I'm so glad you're here.
It's so good to see you, Sarah. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Oh, lovely to spend time with you. Okay, so tell me, I want to know the insider stuff. Tell me, why do you think everybody says the sales is so hard? Or, I always get this when I speak to sales organizations. It's so much harder in our industry than every other industry. The other 40 industries where I heard the same thing. I think sales is just hard, and people think that it's specific to them personally or to their industry. But what is it that makes it so challenging, and how do people get over that? I mean, you have this whole bold leadership and bold sales. Those programs are marvelous. Well, how do we become that bold salesperson, that bold leader that can accomplish anything and everything?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. And a lot of people come to me with this very question like, hey, sales is so hard. I don't want to do. I'm not getting the results that I want. I'm not connecting with my clients. What am I doing wrong? And I think it goes back to Hollywood. So think back to, remember the movie Glengarry Ross with Alec
Glengarry
Baldwin?
Glen Ross, yes.
Glenn Ross. Thank you so much.
It was a play first on Broadway, and I was directing a different show across town, so I know it well. Yes.
Yes, so you're familiar with it, and do you remember? He's yelling at everyone in the room and put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers. You go out there to sell this to get the Cadillac. I mean, like.
Who talks like that? Yeah.
What's interesting, if you watch that as a child or in your development years, is that you
I was like
could
20.
have,
yeah,
when you're in your 20s or whatever the case is, you could have then said, okay, this is what sales is like.
Yes.
Right. So it's, greed, it's aggressive, it's, it's not thinking of the customer.
Anything for the sale. You're not trying to help people. You're trying to manipulate them, and not for their highest and best good in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Yeah.
In previous, if you go even further back before that, like the 1920s, the 30s, 40s, 50s, especially the 50s, where you had door-to-door salespeople. And the term, get your foot in the door, do you know where that comes from?
Oh, I get it. As soon as you say door-to-door salesperson, it's because if you had to get in the door you had to get your foot in the door, literally.
Yes.
And
salespeople would have special shoes that had a wider sole. So if they were going to sell, and the woman's like, I don't want this, the woman who's at home or the man who's at home, and they would try and slam the door, they would shove their foot in the door, but the sole was bigger. So if they slammed it, it wouldn't damage their foot. And it's called getting your foot in the door. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Yeah. So basically, you're saying, go places where people don't want you, rather than what really great sales is going places where you really needed and wanted, and where you are the answer, as our Leslie Oralaza likes to say, don't ever sell anything. Don't ever match anyone, because she does a lot of our matching over overseas team members for companies. Don't ever sell anyone anything unless it's an answer to a prayer for them, and an answer to a prayer for you, or an answer to a prayer for the person that she's matching. So the idea that I really, I defined sales one time on stage this way, it just came out of my mouth, and you'll have to tell me if you think this is on the right track. And I said, I believe that sales is the graceful art of helping people get what they really, truly want. And it's not making them get what they don't want. It's like just talking to enough people where you find people who you are an answer to oh my gosh, how did you know we needed printing? We're desperate. Our other vendor let us down. Can you, or, oh my gosh, how did you know we didn't have, we needed a new executive assistant. We want a virtual one. How did you, we were just talking about that last week. That's what you want. But the idea that you're supposed to, there's 300 million people in the United States, and yet we're supposed to force the 12 people that we know into buying from us seems kind of ridiculous. It's like playing planting 5 seeds and staring at them and screaming, grow, rather than just, couldn't you just plant a few more? I mean, call me crazy, but you got a whole field out there, plant some more seeds. But, so what do you think of that? Is that the right direction, or am I missing? You're the guru.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Right?
Sales is not about convincing. And I think a lot of Hollywood and past things are about, I'm here to convince them they don't know any better. And at the time when there were salespeople coming in the door, like the Fuller Brush people, I don't even think there's any more of those anymore, but they had all the information. So salespeople at a time had all the information, so they felt like they knew better. That has all changed. We now have information at our fingertips in our laptop, conversations, so we have that information now. And so we're not convincing anymore. We never should be convincing. We should be there to serve. Like you said, an answer to a prayer. We are here to offer solutions to them for the problems that they have. And so I think that sometimes can get lost. They think that, and this is and the word cognitive dissonance comes up a lot. So when we talk about cognitive dissonance, we have a belief, but our actions don't match it. So so many people have come to me, they're like, sales is so hard. Why is it so hard? I'm not doing well. And I said, well, describe a salesperson to me. And they're like, well, I kind of think it's gross and it's icky. And I just feel like I've convinced people all the time. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Do you think salespeople are good people? Well, not really, because they blah, 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 aggressive. And
they're manipulating
like, okay,
everybody. They're forcing people to buy things they don't want, or being mean people.
Yeah. So what we come to this conclusion is that, okay, they think salespeople are bad, but they know they're a good person. So what happens is if I'm good at sales, then that equals I'm a bad person. So there's some mindset pieces here. Okay. So we're releasing that cognitive dissonance to bringing them into what is a salesperson. I want you to co-create what is a salesperson to you in the light of who you are and your core values and your integrity and ethics. And so we recreate what they see, what a salesperson is. And then the cognitive dissonance kind of floats away. They're there to serve. They're there to be a guide. They're there to be consultative, right? And so it changes everything. And then it's not so hard because you're there to serve others. So that's a big change.
That is a big change. That's really fun. And that's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. I thought back to going back to the stage even further than that. What popped into my mind was there was a character of Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. The guy that was married to Marilyn Monroe wrote this play called Death of a Salesman. And that was my first, I realized that I'm sure I got to cognitive dissonance as well. So I mean, but I think, that, you see this people who, it is hard and it's hard on them. And then they just want to sell more than they want to do what is right. I think that consultative thing is good. And also I think sometimes if you have a team of salespeople, what you call them might matter, the way that you phrase that, which is why people rarely call themselves salespeople, and companies rarely will call their salespeople, even though they are clearly selling. And some people don't have any issue with it. If they had two parents that were great salespeople and wonderful human beings, then they might not have that cognitive dissonance going on. But I've learned to say, I'm very attached to you getting what you want and getting where you want to go. And I'm not so attached to it having to be with me or my company or anybody I even know. But let's figure out how to get you there. And if it's not with us, that's okay. More important, you get where you want to go and spread nice rumors about us. Because I used to, in the beginning, I would go to these big conferences and it'd be like, 9 guys and a short redhead, and the guys would all come up to me and they'd be like, you're too kind. You're just, you got to be more of a hunter. You got to bonk people over the head and make them buy from you. And I'm like, this is just so not my speed. And so my business probably grew a lot slower than all of theirs did. But what's really funny is when I think back to the 9 in my head right this second, not a one of them's business is still alive. In the long run, kindness pays off, because I end up with friends like you who are really smart, where I can call you and say, hey, I need advice on a deal that we're doing. I want to make sure that it's ethical and I'm doing the right thing, and I want to make sure it's the right match. Or, I'll say, oh my gosh, I know somebody who should be working in, should be in one of your groups. She's a health coach and she'd be, wow, I heard you just blossomed. But we all, that rising tide raises all the boats, as John F. Kennedy famously said. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a mindset piece to how do we look at being a salesperson, even if you are the owner and you're the lead, that lead salesperson. It probably starts with that. What do you do with them once you get them over that hump of starting to see what they sell is valuable? Otherwise, go sell something else. Like, sell something you believe is valuable. Why would you sell something you don't believe in? But what do you do with them after that? Once you've got them over the salespeople are not evil, and neither are you. What do you do then?
Well, one thing I think is really important too is after we move through the mindset piece and the belief, is then we find out, okay, is there a structure? And then also talk about listening skills. So an example of one gentleman, he was the owner of a very successful business, but he had gone through what is like a desert of sales. We've all been this or owners, like this period of time where sales are flat, you're just, recurring of your previous clients, and he just wasn't selling. And so one of his colleagues said, you've got to talk to Jaime. So I met with him.
Good job.
Just a wonderful gentleman. And he was really struggling. I said, okay, we worked through the belief. And he's like, okay, that makes sense to me. And I'm like, so tell me, what do you do in your first call? Just tell what happens. He goes, I don't know. Well, I tell them about what I offer. And I'm like, do you ask any questions? And he's like, why would I ask them questions? He was European, but he lived in America. He's like, why would I ask them questions? And he's from the theater. So why would I ask them questions?
High drama.
They called me, right? They called me. They are here to listen to me. And I was like, okay, let's talk about what is active listening. So have you ever talked to someone, Sarah, and they're not listening? They're just waiting for their turn to talk?
I think we've all done that, frankly. We've all done that. Yeah. I mean,
we've all done that. We've all done
hard to not be doing that anymore. Yeah, exactly. But it happens to everybody, but it can't be it can't be your default. No.
Yes. And the thing is, what I do in that is that we really get to know who is he. Like, let's start with you and start building your self-awareness. Right. Do I listen? Am I a good listener or not? What do I need to do to improve my active listening? So I think some of the best people in sales, business development, whatever you want to call it, is that they are very self-aware. They are self-aware of what their superpowers are. Just like your superpowers, Sarah, definitely relationships, connection, warmth, right? And you lean into that and especially with all those gentlemen, and you were the only, cute little redhead there, right? So, but we find out what their superpower is, and we're going to lean into that because that's really where they're going to shine. Okay. So we've got to move through the belief system and get that squared and aligned. And then we really drop into who they are. Because once they know who they are too, then when they meet with others, because I very much train with personality types and get to know who you are. I use animals. It's very fun because adults learn faster, 8% faster if we're having fun. And so then we can recognize who we're talking to. So then we can adapt our conversation style to theirs so we can have a deeper connection. To be clear, it's not about manipulating. It's like, Sarah, if I know that like your certain style of the animal would be peacock, which is very fun, and you light up the room, and, connection. Everyone loves the peacock, right? You're wearing red today, perfect example, right? Like,
there you go. High drama. There you go. On stage girl. Yeah. I don't know why you would say that after 3,000 speeches, 3.5 million participants, and you think I'm like this on stage kind of peacock. I'm very shocked at that. Yeah. No, I get it. Right. Thank you. I'll take it as a compliment, hopefully. Yeah.
But if I was running a sales call with you, the last thing I want to do is go into heavy details and strategy and show you spreadsheets and not make eye contact and not ask you about your day, your family, or, types of things to get to know you as a person, build a relationship. I would give you the facts. That's it. And I would give you space to make that decision because that's a different personality style. So I kind of read the room and I train them how to do that. So know who you are, know who you're talking to, and then adapt. And it's a 3-step process.
That is so powerfully important. Yeah, I've had many times where I've misread and thought someone was a fellow peacock, only to find out, oh my gosh, this person is highly, highly detail oriented and very analytical. One of my clients, I just discovered this like a month ago, and I went, oh, I mean, you seem on the surface, okay, let's give you another spreadsheet and make you happy. Yeah, so I literally had to, we sent him over 6 spreadsheets and he was like, oh, this is the best. Really?
Yeah, isn't
The
that
last
great?
thing
So
I
those are the
last thing I
owls.
would
They
agree with.
want just the facts,
Yeah.
man. Just the
They just,
facts, the
yeah, they're real facts,
details,
real
and
facts
very little
oriented.
expression. They don't want to go
Yeah.
out to dinner before the sale. They don't want to
Or
even, they don't
after.
care. Right. They just want all their options. They're going to get 5 other quotes, and they are going to make a lot of decision based on facts and data.
And I've noticed that they're a lot slower to make those choices, whereas the
Yes.
peacocks will often make a choice and then have more buyer's remorse, I've discovered, where they go,
Yep.
oh gosh, do I have time to actually do this? Oh, well, how much is this for my budget? You know, they have to almost slow the peacock types down. I'm one of them, so I know enough to be able to make sure that it really is right for them and they're not just excited to see you. So it's like
Right, because they're riding
yeah,
that wave of the energy of being with someone. So
the
what I
emotion,
do
the
with,
energy.
I actually have people take an assessment before. So I do a
Oh.
15-minute phone call, discovery call. Then I have them do this assessment, and then I do an hour-long call with them. So I know before we even sit down who I'm having a conversation with, and I mentally prepare that so I can be of service to them. So I can match them where they are and what their needs
Mhm.
are. This I've done with, so I would say probably in the hundreds, almost thousands, and I've trained this on stages where it is so
Mhm.
highly effective. And I'm thinking really good example of this, and I will in just a minute. There's so many examples of it.
Get a
It's
flood of
it's
examples.
they get excited because then they have a strategy. Because a lot of people go in a sales call,
Ah.
either they're given a cookie cutter one by their company, which is
Mhm.
boring, which is sterile, which is like
Mhm.
reading a script and clients know it. But if you
Mhm.
can bring your full self to serve, and you're bringing your superpowers to the table in addition to serving them and what they need and what their style is, it's a total
Mhm.
game changer. And everyone feels good at the end, and
Mhm.
someone feeling
Mhm.
icky or something
Mhm.
like that happens.
I had a great consultant, Sabrina Brahms. She was amazing. She helped me grow the business so much. And then she said, you seem like you're ready to settle down. You want me to help you figure out how to date? And I hadn't dated. I'd been single and working too hard and on the road too much to date. And she gave me all this advice and I ended up with Steve. So I would say this is the world's greatest consultant. She grew my business for me, with me, helped me, and then she found me my Steve. So I love her. But she's always talking about how people can really, it has to be an absolute win-win, a win-win. Everybody, they can't, if it is a win-lose, your brand will suffer, you will suffer, you won't feel good at night. It has to be a win-win, even if that means on occasion you've got to walk away from some pretty big deals, which I've had to do. But people sense intention. I think Judy, we both know, we know with Judy Hoberman, she has that fabulous show, but she's always saying they can almost feel it or sense it or smell it. They can sense that intention. And if your intention is to support another human being in making a great decision for them, be their consultant and say, hey, here are all the pieces, not say anything negative about your competition because it only makes you look bad, but continuing to say, where do you want to go and how are we going to get you there? And that believe in them as a human and care about them. That does go a long way because people can sense if, when you walk into the car dealer and they say, how you doing? And that they don't want the answer. They're only asking how
Yeah.
you doing so they can get to, do you want this one or that one? And can we do it before lunch? I got it's only so much time here. So I think it's how do you set your intention of, again, I'm here. I love that you said, I'm here to serve. I really am here to serve. You serve enough people and you're shocked in the beginning. Again, the people that bonk people over the head to force them to buy for them, it might work for a short time. But the internet being what it is now, word spreads so quickly. And even before, I mean, people would, word got out. And so about somebody's behavior. And so I think, again, most people are good people. They want to do good things. And so you have to be able to do that. But it's hard, though, sometimes when I've had to walk away from, a couple of really, really, really large deals because I knew the client wasn't ready. They needed infrastructure before we couldn't double their business without imploding it. So I sent them to people who could do the infrastructure and stuff like that. So, but sometimes it's hard because, especially if you get to a certain size, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in business. And that can be a bit painful. But what I have figured out is if you let go of the deals that really aren't right for you, and they're not right for you, you're fooling yourself because maybe you like somebody at that company or because, you want your commission check to be bigger or you want to grow your business faster, whatever those things are. But it's not right. The weird thing that I've found, and again, tell me if this is something you've noticed in the salespeople that you work with, but in my experience, I will let go of a project and then it leaves this space. And then I think, oh dear, what have I done? And then I think, no, and you got to do that. You have to always do the right thing. You always have to have the highest and best intention for it's got to be a win-win or do not play. And I hear Sabrina Brahm in my head saying that. And then like literally a month later, it'll be something bigger, better, more fabulous. Like, why did I even want that other thing? But it takes a lot of trust in yourself, a lot of trust in God, the universe. It takes a certain amount of trust to know in your soul that let go of deal. They're slowing you down. I mean, yeah, they're just, it's just keeping you from what you're really meant to do in terms of serving and helping the right people, where you will be an answer to a prayer, you know?
Yes, for sure. And I also think back is, how would I want to be treated? If I was put yourself in their shoes. So that's another really beautiful skill set for salespeople, not just active listening, but empathy, is put
Interesting.
yourself in
No one
their shoes.
talks about this. This is so
No one talks
important.
about empathy
Yeah.
because they think it's a soft skill. And so I bring a lot of more, and it's not a soft skill, it's a leadership skill at the end of the day. Some of the greatest leaders I've worked with, some of the greatest leaders in our history are highly empathetic because they put themselves in other people's shoes. And they really take that moment to understand the other person. If I was looking to solve this problem, and deep down you could figure it out, but it's not your specialty, and someone over here could really be the right person for them, that's the right thing to do. And so that takes integrity, that takes leadership. And I think a big component of people being successful in sales, and especially business owners, is being leaders and doing the hard things, right? That's what integrity is about. When no one's looking, doing the hard things. And
You have to
so,
sleep at night, and you don't want to think of
yeah,
yourself as the way you may have thought of other salespeople as a child or in your teens or
right.
20s or whatever that
Yeah,
was.
for
Wow.
sure. Yeah,
Powerful.
and so, I mean, I was just thinking of this gentleman. He was the owner of a construction company, and he many times, well, he found out he was a golden retriever. So I have animals again for all of my different styles. So the golden retriever is
I think
more
I'm married to one
introverted,
of those. Yeah, I'm married to one of
more
those for sure.
moderate paced, yet very
Hmm.
kind, thinking of everyone else but themselves, very nurturing and
Perfect.
caring,
They're
and just
perfect
a
people.
wonderful gentleman. And he was so good at being like, I'm not going to be able to do this job properly, and I know someone who can. He did such a great job. His issue was dealing with very highly motivated, dare I say, sometimes aggressive, direct, forceful people, which are our lions and lionesses. Okay,
New
so you have
Yorkers. New Yorkers is what you're trying to. New Yorkers.
that.
Like I lived there for a decade. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like they make decisions very quickly.
Yeah. Sure.
They don't want any small talk. They get right to
Mm-mm.
business. And golden retriever is the opposite. They want to get to know you and takes things slower pace. And maybe we have 3 meetings instead of one. And the line is like, I thought this was 15 minutes, not 3 meetings that are 3 hours each. Like, we're gonna make a
Right.
decision, we're gonna do it today. And so he's like, how do I work with that energy?
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we worked together. We went through my whole sales program, and he was flat sales for 3 years. And this was 2024, he hit the biggest year he's ever hit in his entire life. And he's like, how did this
Oh.
even happen? And I'm like, because you responded quickly to the lion styles, right? Like, you were there
Hmm.
and you were present with them. You asked only for what they needed, right? You only provided what they needed, and you moved quickly with them. Like, you've got to walk arm in arm when you're doing these sales things, because they need those types of things, and you are going to
Hmm.
have to adapt. It's about being a chameleon at the end of the day and serving your
Hmm.
people. I think
Hmm.
that's one of the biggest pieces.
I think that makes so much sense. Yeah, I love that. Again, knowing your own style and knowing what other people need, because sometimes you don't have the luxury of only talking to people who are similar to you. Now, if you can set your avatar of your ideal client to be the kind of people that are easiest for you to work with. And sometimes if somebody is a business owner and they are doing most of the sales or business development functions, that's possible. But most of the time, even when you do that, there's going to be some outliers that don't fit exactly whatever that profile is.
Yes.
I love
And
that.
the
Yeah.
stat on that is that people will do business 83% of the time with a person who's similar to them.
Hmm.
So if
Hmm.
you are a peacock and you do mostly business with peacocks,
Hmm.
83% of those people are going to want to work with you.
Mm.
So if you are able to adapt your style, so if you're talking to an owl, the person who wanted the spreadsheets, right? And not dim who you are, but also know you're at service to that person to stay focused on the facts that they need. You're smiling.
No, I just love it. It's so true because I think we've all done it though, given way too much information to the people who don't want information, not giving enough information to the people that are highly detail oriented, just getting carried away with all the facts with people that could care less. I mean, it's just those are the mistakes that I think anybody who's in business for more than 10 minutes has certainly made. I think what you're saying, what popped into my mind, and this is just kind of funny that popped into my mind, is it's sort of like going to France and you have to adapt your personality when you go there. You're not manipulating the French people by speaking French. You're just speaking a different language. It's not like, you're not you're not showing
That's
up.
example I give. Yeah. You're exactly right. I'm like, you're not manipulating. If it's so fun, I use Spanish
it's in
as
their
an
service.
example. I'm like,
Spanish is good too.
if
I could speak both.
Your client speaks Spanish and only Spanish, and you speak Spanish and English, by using your Spanish to talk to them doesn't mean you're changing who you are. You're just changing your language. And then when I say that people in the room, because I had this big meet, it was a training I was doing, sales training with a big construction company, and this gentleman in the back, and he was an installer. Like he came and his hands, dirty and jeans, and came in from the field, and he's like, this is a bunch of garbage. All you're doing, lady, is manipulating people. And it was frightening at first, but then I was like, okay, this is great. And I gave that example. There was like silence in the room, and they're like, oh,
right.
I see.
You are changing who you are and what you do in such a way that it is in service of the other person. But that comes back to intention, which is a real theater film term. Again, what's your subtext? What's your intention? But it's a real thing. Otherwise it's just flat words on a page, or it's a script that somebody at your office or that you've picked up or whatever. But again, all that should enhance your ability to ask the right questions and really support people and get them where they want to go. And then again, people sense that. But if you have to change, match and mirror their energy, their tone, their pace, the way that they want information in order to support them rather than force, again, sales is not force people to do what they don't want to do. Sales, business development, I really believe, is the graceful art of helping people get what they already want so that everybody's like standing around, holding hands and singing Kumbaya. I mean, that's what it should be, but it's not always that.
I know, but go ahead. Can I add one more thing?
Yeah. Oh no, I love that. Yeah, please do.
Something that I teach too. I know a lot of us and I said it earlier, the golden rule, which is treat others as you would like to be treated. And with sales training, I think this is important in some instances, but when we're talking about sales and we're preparing for a sales call and this person's the opposite style of you, and you're like, okay, how can I ground myself? How can I be fully present to what this person needs? And I go back to the platinum rule, which is treat others as they would like to be treated.
Tony Alessandro, I know from NSA. That's a great book. Yeah.
I haven't read that book. I've got this through training through other mentors. I need
to
read it.
Yeah. No, it's audio.
Okay,
it was a book and audio program by Tony Alessandro, and I think he did it with a partner. But anyway, the platinum rule, which says, you explain it better than I do, which says
treat others as they would like to be treated. And sometimes that means putting yourself second, and that's okay, right? Because you're there to serve. Because like you said, it's going to come back to you in one way or another if you're there to serve that person. Because I also believe that then someone else will also do right by you in the future. And another client down the road will come in, and you got to have faith that they are going to. And every single time, Sarah, I'm the same as you. When I say no to someone, I refer them. I had one client and I said, listen, I want to help you, but a lot of past trauma is coming up so much that it's really, I didn't say this to that person, but it's really inhibiting. We can't move forward, and you're just recycling on the same thing. We can't move. I want to just pause, and I'm going to refer you to a therapist for 6 months. And then I want you to come back to me. And financially, it probably wasn't the best choice, but it was in the end.
But it was.
He came back 6 months, a completely different person. He had washed away what was holding him back, and he closed a really big client. So I think it just, you know what I mean? Like, it's, again, being at service to who needs it. Because if I was in that position, again, empathy, I'd want someone to do the same for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a great way to shock your competitors is to send them business, but, and because people always say, well, they're your competitors. How are you going to beat your competitors? I'm like, well, there's times when we have more business than we can handle, and I send it to my friendly competitors. Or there's people that I think, I had one guy, I mean, I'm a nonlinear gal. I'll admit it straight out. And this guy, owl does it. It's like six owls in one. I mean, he was he literally would send me emails that were spreadsheets. I was like, we are going to have a problem here. And I knew I was going to, it wasn't like my team, who we have several engineers on the team, former engineers that are great at that kind of thing. But I knew I was going to be interacting with him a lot. And as much as I liked him and as much it would have been a very lucrative project, I handed him off to one of my friendly competitors because I was like, you can speak nerd, you go. And I'm nerdy too. I'm really nerdy too. It's not that, it's just the type of nerd that and they were a love match. Oh my gosh, they've done all this stuff. The company's so successful. They're all happy. And then, again, and then all my competitors are like, well, I've got this gal, she's a peacock, to use your words, wants to be on stage, wants to be a speaker all over the world, write books and all that. And I don't want to, give me the owls, please. And then he's been sending us business. So it comes back one way or another. And what's really weird is the guy that I gave to him has sent us referrals for other things that we do. So it's, I think you have to, again, it comes down to, can you trust that if you do the right thing, the world will support you? And you just, even when times are tough, especially when times are tough, because that's when you're tested. That's when your values are really tested.
I am so incredibly honored to have you as a part of the Inspiring Victory tribe at the Inspiring Victory Show. Please do us a favor. We really need your help. Please like, subscribe, share, write a comment. It makes a huge difference with how many people we can reach here at the Inspiring Victory Show, and it makes a big difference to me personally. I want to make sure that we're providing content to as many people as we possibly can so they can grow and succeed. So we'd love to have you continue your membership here at the Inspiring Victory Show. It's free. Helping us out costs nothing, but it makes a huge difference in how many people we can help. So double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And thank you so much for being a part of this extraordinary community. Thank you.
What is the number one thing that we can do if we want more sales? I always tell people, talk to more people in your ideal market and get better at it, which is what you help people do. Encourage them to talk to more people who are right for them and get better, more sophisticated at your ability to do that with people. But what is something that people can do if they want their sales to improve in this next year?
I know this is going to sound a little out there, but I think step one is doing some self-discovery of who you are.
Really?
Understand who you are. Again, understand your superpowers and become an interesting person. So something about you, Sarah, that's really interesting is that you're a great storyteller. That's one of your superpowers. And maybe you already knew that before, but maybe other people aren't aware of what makes them interesting. People like to do business that they know, like, and trust, right? That's old school, Carnegie type
That's true,
stuff.
though.
But it's very true. It's very true. Statistically, it's been shown. So get to know yourself, become an interesting person. People want to spend more time with you when you are more self-aware and showing gratitude to others, gratitude to yourself. Drop into who you are. And I think that those salespeople that really know who they are and are there to serve, they understand what their gifts are they're coming to the table with, they do the best. They excel the most. And they're the happiest too, because they know who they are and they know how that piece works for them in their business and their life. And it gives some perspective. It really gives some perspective. And they're lovely to spend time with, let me tell you. They are just wonderful people, and people want to do business.
They're happy.
People who are interested, they're happy, right? And so I think that's an important piece.
And also back to Dale Carnegie, how do you become interesting? You become interested. You're back to the beginning of the conversation of asking questions. So
yes.
Are there any great questions that we could ask if we're, maybe we're an owl and not so used to warming people up with how's your family and how's the pets and how's the, but are there great sales questions that can help us that we should know about since you're the question queen?
Yes. Yes, there are some great questions. Can I share a quick story? And then we will definitely talk. I'm making notes here, questions. If you know Vanessa Van
I love that.
Edwards.
I don't think that.
Vanessa Van Edwards,
I don't think so.
she's
Tell
an
me.
excellent communication expert. And she calls herself a recovering awkward person. And she was real awkward as a kid. She shows pictures. She's adorable.
Me too.
And
Yeah, totally.
she said they were doing research on why some kids are more liked than others. And she was trying to correlate it to adults. So they took a school room of children and they're like, okay, why does some kids are more liked than others? And they had all the kids write down everyone they like in the class. Okay, so these kids are sitting down at their desk, they're writing down, oh, I like, Jimmy and Mary and blah, blah, blah. So they gather all these lists together and they correlate to the kids who are the most popular kids. And what they found out is the most popular kids had the longest list of kids that they liked.
Oh, that's interesting.
So find the light in other people and what you like about them. So also studies have shown that if you and I just met and then you had a friend who introduced us, her name was Susan, okay? And then we had lunch together. And then the next day, Susan said, you know what, Sarah, Jamie really liked you. Immediately as a human, you're going to like me more than what you did before because you know that I like you. So one thing you can do is like other people, genuinely like when I meet someone, I'm looking for their like you. I'm like, Sarah's so warm and she's so good at connecting, telling stories. I just love that about her. And I focus on that, right? So that's naturally going to radiate the energy that I like you, and then you're going to like me, right? And so there's a whole bunch of other science to this, but I think that's an important piece, right? Because instead of going in there like Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross is just get in there and push them and force them, this is completely different energy.
Bugs the heck out of me. Yeah,
table,
that's
right?
so, it's just so wrong. It's just so wrong on so many levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one,
So,
like you said, who wants to be, you want to say to yourself, like you said earlier, how would I want to be treated, when in this experience of purchasing whatever it is. And that's that platinum rule of, again, do unto others as they would like to have done unto them, if that's the right way to say that. So a lot of it seems to come down to having the right, again, knowing yourself, knowing where your skills are. If you are a great storyteller, a lot of how I sell what we do is telling stories. And I love the people that work for me, and I love telling stories about how great Leslie Orlaz is at sourcing people from overseas and how amazing Eunice and her team are at making websites and making social media and doing podcasts for people. I could talk all day about all of their wins and accolades and stuff. So, but I think that's because I genuinely think they're wonderful human beings. And again, so I think I don't realize that I'm leaning on that talent, but I think stories, questions and stories, I think are the answer to everything. I always say, if you're standing on stage and you're losing an audience, either ask a question and genuinely get everybody involved with answering it or turning to a partner or raising a hand or something, or tell a story, because you will instantly get them back. There's some primitive impulse that's going on there. And I think the same works in a sales situation. If you're lost and you don't know what to do, ask more. The reason you're lost is you don't have enough information. You haven't asked enough questions.
Yes, right? I love questions. This is one question that
back to questions.
I love asking this because it's an overall great conversation to start a sales call if you're at the point where they're ready to make a decision. So this is where they have proposal in hand, they're ready to make a decision, or if they are going to be taking it back to a group, because sometimes you are meeting with the contact person and then they're going to take it back to so-and-so and so-and-so and get all the approvals and all that. So I ask the question, regardless of what their style is, and I say, before we get kicked off today, you've got the proposal in your hand. I'm going to be reviewing that with you. But I want to ask you this. What's the most important thing in making this decision today for you specifically? And they're like, the most important thing. And I was like, well, what's most important to you in making this decision, especially if they're the decision maker? And they will pause. There's always for the 90% of the time a pause. And then they spill their beans for the most part. They're like, well, I want to make sure you're the best because we have 2 other quotes and I'm not sure. And the time frame, and they just start sharing. So I'm like, great. Another great question is, what do you need to make the best decision here? And ask them what they need. And the spreadsheet people will say they need spreadsheets. the peacock people, they're going to start telling stories, and they want you to tell stories. They want you to relate to them. They want to build a stronger relationship with you, right? So ask what they need instead of assuming what they need, because we assume a lot. Okay.
We assume they're going to need what we would need, whether that's true or not.
Just ask. A lot of people are like, I don't know, what should I give them? They're going to go back to their team, say, what do they need in order to make a strong argument to move forward with you? What do you need? Do you need a presentation? Do you want a PDF? Do you want me to come to the meeting? Like, what do you need? Ask them what they need, because the golden retrievers sometimes won't ask for what they need. And the owls too. Sometimes they won't. So you've got to be forthcoming.
Or may not, and sometimes they don't even know, I find, what they need. So they may, also because they may not be quick starts like you and I tend to be, where we can answer everything in 4 seconds and not, they may be people that, they may be people that need time to think and absorb. And then once they have the answer, it's like, written in stone, compared to where 2 weeks later we won't remember what we even said. I mean, I'm talking for myself mainly, but yeah. So I mean, it's different styles, and it's honoring the fact that some people do need more time to make the right decision. There's a study out that came out about 15 years ago that said that the people that make quick decisions, they're trying to make as many good decisions as possible quickly, right? And the people who make slow decisions, it's almost like being at bat. They're waiting for the right pitch coming in at just the right place to get it. They need to do fewer of them. Both are good strategies. Both are really good strategies. But if we, as the quick start people who want to hit everything, whether it's a good idea or not, if we try to force the people that are waiting for the right, that right moment to make decisions the way we make decisions, they make poorer decisions, and vice versa. You try to make me slow down and look at every spreadsheet, I'm not buying a car today. So, it's just, you have to let people be. It's back to that same thing of letting people be who you are, let people be who they are. But that, that had impact on me when I realized that, powerful is that. What are you most proud of about what you do?
Oh, that's a good one, Sarah. Oh, I am so proud of my clients who set goals, and they have these aha moments, and they've never hit these goals before, whether it be a sales goal, whether it be, something unrelated but tied to it. And they have these aha moments as we're working together. Those are very big, proud moments where where they have an aha moment and there's just silence for a moment, and you're like, what's happening? Did they realize? Or like, what's going on? Like in your mind, you're like, is this the moment? Is this the moment? And they have that moment. And then after that, it's like almost like releasing a net of doves, and everything just comes out, and everything's so much easier for them because they've released this one limiting belief, a bad habit, or whatever the case it is, and they can move forward. So I'm so proud, each and every one of my people. I had an event, what was it, last May, and to have everyone together in one room, I was just in tears, and people stood up, started saying all these wonderful things. I'm like, who are they talking about? Are they talking about me? Are they sure? Like this, are they sure?
Definitely.
And it was not prompted, it was not anything. And they just all went around, and I just was in tears of how grateful I am. And even now, I'm getting verklempt. Talk about butter. Anyway, so like, it was just so beautiful, Sarah. I'm so thankful I get to do this. I get to be around these incredible individuals that not only want to make their lives better, the lives of their employees, their people, and the world a better place. I could not be more honored.
I am honored just to know you and be a part of your world. And I am very proud of you and proud to know you. And I love the work that you do, and I love who you are. And I'm very grateful you took the time to be with us today. And it was a fascinating conversation that I really learned a lot from. And I'm sure you are watching this at home or in your office, whether you're watching it on YouTube or you're listening to it on one of the podcast streaming platforms. We are very glad to have had you here on the Inspiring Victory Show. And again, here we have Jaime Foster. Great ways to reach her will be in the chat below. Any parting words for us, Jaime? Anything else that you want us to know? Words
I
of
would
wisdom?
say, yeah, go out today and do something that brings you joy. Because when you have joy in your heart, people can feel that. And that will make the world a better place.
And I think that'll probably bump up your sales a lot more than you realize. Emotion is a powerful, powerful force. And I think we've illuminated that today. Fascinating conversation. Thank you for being on. And for you, thank you for being a part of the tribe at the Inspiring Victory Show. Double your business, double your impact, change the world just like Jamie's doing. I believe in you. We believe in you. And thank you for watching the show and for commenting. It makes a big difference to all of us. Thank you so, so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Marites Bott of Bott & Associates.
I'm so honored to get to be with our wonderful sponsor for the Inspiring Victory Show. And I want to make sure you know a little bit more about her and about what they do, because I think it'd be really helpful for all of us as business people and just in our personal lives. Marites does a lot of speaking, as many of you probably know, but I love one of the speeches that she's famous for, which is A Generous Legacy, the power of future-proofing your business and your personal life. And that's really what you are all about. So I want to talk a little bit about that with you. And can you give us an example of somebody who's come to you and how you were able to help them that might be able to help all of us as we navigate our financial planning as well as our estate planning for business and for personal?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, thank you for having me, Sarah. I appreciate it. We do a lot of estate planning, obviously, as well as the financial planning for our clients. And a story that I think is a great way to showcase what we do is this wonderful couple that we met back in, I want to say 2015. They came in for a consultation. So they are certainly a wonderful couple, blended family. So second marriage for both of them. He has children and she does not. Basically, they were saying to me, Marites, I really want my estate plan to be secure. I want it to be ironclad so it goes to the right people. Particularly the wife was concerned that this money goes to her charities, which she was very, very active in and volunteers quite a bit. She puts her hard-earned money with them. And she also wants to make sure her husband is taken care of as well. So she wanted to do both objectives at the same time. We were like, of course we can help you with that. We want to make sure that we write everything down and just like you said, make it ironclad so that there's no contest. There's nobody trying to get to the money inappropriately. Right. So we created a wonderful estate plan for them. So that was 2015. Now, sadly, she unexpectedly passed a few years later. And her surviving spouse came to us and he really needed help. He was so, of course, distraught and super, super sad. But he was also very concerned about the financial pieces. He wasn't that familiar with financial instruments. There was 13, 14, 15 accounts that she had. And of course, he was like, I'm confused. What do I do with all of this? So we said, okay, we're going to take care of you. We got this. And we were able to really take a hold of all those instruments and all those accounts. And on our financial side of our business, we were able to consolidate them, invest it in very prudent investments and make sure it's easy for him to manage. So we were able to do that within 3 to 6 months. His late wife's wishes of him being able to live on that money and then eventually at his death, give it to her charities is exactly what's going to happen. So wonderful to be able to plan it properly, give her peace of mind. A few years later, we're honoring 100% of her wishes. This money is not going to go to anybody inappropriately. And her beneficiaries, her charities, are going to be so happy to be able to get this money upon his death because he is still able to live on that income. So I love those stories because to me, we work so hard. We sacrifice daily, right? We work so hard and we want to be able to take our money and be able to give it to people that we love and charities that we believe in.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I always enjoy spending time with you. And yeah, you're one of the people I always find so much value in talking to. You're just walking integrity and you're a good soul. And you help people. You help people. So thank you
I
for
appreciate
being on the show again and for sharing with us and for always doing such a great job for everybody. And now that you're able to do even more and be more of a one-stop shop to help people with all these different issues, I think your company and you are even more valuable. Thank you so much. Always
Thank
lovely to see you.
you.
Marites Bott and
Appreciate it.
Associates. If it's something that you need, be sure and contact Marites right away. Thank you.
Thank you.